Imagine a time when celebrating Christmas was illegal. No festive decorations, no carols, no gifts exchanged under a twinkling tree, just the grim reality of a Christmasless winter. It may sound like a dystopian tale, but this was the reality in the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1659 when the Puritans banned Christmas. How did this come to pass, and why would such a joyous holiday be outlawed? Let's explore the surprising history behind this ban. Today, Christmas is arguably the most celebrated holiday in America. It's a time for family gatherings, gift-giving, and for many, a period of religious reflection. The streets are adorned with lights, people exchange heartfelt greetings, and homes are filled with the sense of holiday feasts. But the story of Christmas in America wasn't always one of universal celebration. In fact, in 1659, Christmas was banned by the Puritans in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, marking a stark contrast to the holiday's modern-day significance. This surprising chapter in American history challenges our understanding of how traditions evolve and adapt over time. To understand why Christmas was banned, we need to look deeper into the mindset and motivations of the Puritans. The Puritans were a group of English Protestants who sought to purify the Church of England from what they considered corrupt practices. Their religious fervor was rooted in a strict moral code and a desire to create a society that adhered closely to their interpretation of the Bible. When they settled in the New World, they aimed to build a city upon a hill, a model society based on their rigid religious principles. This included their disapproval of certain celebrations they deemed unholy, with Christmas being at the top of that list. But what events led to such drastic measures? In 17th century England, Christmas was not the solemn, family-oriented holiday we know today. Instead, it was celebrated with a mix of religious observance and secular revelry. It was a time for feasting, drinking, dancing, and often rowdy behavior. These celebrations sometimes spiraled out of control, leading to public disorder. The Puritans found these practices deeply offensive. They believed that the true meaning of Christmas, honoring the birth of Christ, had been lost amidst the excessive celebrations, which they saw as sinful and a distraction from genuine religious devotion. One particularly vivid story that illustrates the Puritans' disdain for Christmas celebrations and the events leading to the ban revolves around a man named Thomas Morton and the community he established at Marymount, modern-day Quincy, Massachusetts. Morton, an Englishman of a more liberal persuasion, established Marymount in the 1620s as a trading post and community. Unlike the Puritans, Morton and his followers were known for their hedonistic lifestyle, which included drinking, dancing, and celebrating holidays like Christmas with what the Puritans considered reckless abandon. The most famous incident occurred in 1627, when Morton and his community erected a maypole, a tall wooden pole, often decorated, around which people would dance and celebrate. The maypole was not only a symbol of their festive spirit, but also a direct challenge to the Puritan ideals of sobriety and modesty. Morton's community celebrated Christmas with feasts, revelry, and by singing bawdy carols, all of which greatly alarmed the nearby Puritan settlers. The Puritans, led by figures such as Governor William Bradford and Miles Standish, saw Marymount as a den of iniquity that threatened the moral fabric of their fledgling society. In response, they organized a raid on the settlement. Standish led armed men to arrest Morton, dismantle the maypole, and eventually dissolve the community. Morton was sent back to England, where he continued to challenge Puritan authority, but the event left a lasting impact. This clash at Marymount exemplified the deep cultural and religious divide between the Puritans and those who held more lenient views on celebrations like Christmas. The incident was a precursor to the broader crackdown on Christmas celebrations, as it demonstrated to the Puritan leadership how easily their vision for a pious society could be threatened by unchecked revelry. These tensions culminated in 1659, when the Massachusetts Bay Colony enacted a law that made celebrating Christmas a criminal offense. The law stated that anybody who is found observing, by abstinence from labor, feasting, or any other way, any such day as Christmas or the like, shall pay for every such offense 5 shillings as a fine to the county. This ban wasn't just a legal measure. It was a bold statement to the Puritans' commitment to their religious principles and their desire to create a society free from what they considered corrupt and sinful practices. The public's reaction was mixed. While some colonists, particularly those who shared the Puritans' religious views, supported the ban, others were less enthusiastic. For many, Christmas was a cherished tradition, and the ban was seen as an overreach of governmental authority. The Puritans in early colonial New England had a complex relationship with Christmas. Unlike the Christmas celebrations we are familiar with today, which are often filled with festive activities and joy, the Puritans viewed these traditions with suspicion and disapproval. Their approach to Christmas stemmed from their desire to purify the Church of England from what they considered remnants of Catholic practices, including Christmas celebrations. To the Puritans, Christmas was associated with Old World customs, which they believed were steeped in paganism and lacked biblical justification. They were particularly concerned about the rowdiness, excessive drinking, and other behaviors that often accompanied Christmas festivities in England at the time. This led them to discourage traditional Christmas celebrations, viewing them as distractions from religious devotion. However, contrary to some modern interpretations, the Puritans didn't outright ban Christmas. Instead, they sought to transform it into a day of solemn reflection, prayer, and community worship. In place of festive merrymaking, they encouraged religious observances that focused on the spiritual significance of the day. In some New England colonies, such as Massachusetts, laws were passed that imposed fines on those who observed Christmas by refraining from work. But these laws were not uniformly enforced and varied over time. This approach to Christmas was part of the broader Puritan goal of creating a society that was disciplined, morally upright, and focused on the worship of God. As a result, Christmas in early New England was far from the joyous, festive occasion it is today. Introspective day that reflected the Puritans' desire to align all aspects of life with their religious beliefs. Despite such enforcement, dissent was not easily quashed. Some colonists continued to celebrate Christmas in secret, gathering quietly in their homes to honor the holiday, risking fines and public censure. These acts of quiet defiance highlighted the difficulty the Puritans faced in trying to legislate cultural practices and control the private lives of their citizens. The suppression of Christmas in Massachusetts stood in contrast to the practices in other colonies. In Virginia, New York, and the southern colonies where the Puritans had less influence, Christmas continued to be celebrated, albeit with less public fanfare. In these regions, the holiday retained its mix of religious observance and secular merriment, reflecting the diverse religious and cultural values that were beginning to take shape across the American colonies. This division highlighted the varying degrees of religious tolerance and cultural acceptance that would eventually contribute to the rich tapestry of American society. The Puritans' ban on Christmas, however, was not destined to last forever. By the late 17th century, political and religious shifts in England, most notably the restoration of the monarchy under Charles II, led to a significant decline in Puritan influence, both in England and in the American colonies. The rigid control that the Puritans had once exercised over their communities began to weaken, and with it, the strictures against Christmas began to loosen. In 1681, the Massachusetts Bay Colony officially lifted the ban on Christmas, marking the beginning of the holiday's gradual return to public life. However, the legacy of the ban lingered. It took many years for Christmas to regain its full place as a widely observed and openly celebrated holiday in New England. The scars left by the Puritans' harsh policies were slow to heal, and it wasn't until the 19th century, with the influence of authors like Washington Irving and Charles Dickens, that Christmas began to evolve into the warm, family-centered holiday we recognize today. This transformation from a banned celebration to a cornerstone of American culture reflects broader societal shifts towards religious tolerance, cultural blending, and the resilience of traditions. The eventful embrace of Christmas in American society underscores the enduring nature of cultural practices and the ability of traditions to adapt, survive, and even thrive despite opposition and attempts at suppression. The story of the Puritans banning Christmas in 1659 is a fascinating glimpse into how cultural and religious beliefs can shape and sometimes challenge the way we celebrate our most cherished holidays. What do you think about the Puritans' decision to ban Christmas? How do you think this historical episode has influenced the way we celebrate the holiday today? Share your thoughts in the comments.